What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Happy Friday. And we are just going to kind of get right into it. Like I always say, brief disclaimer, the stream won't be incredibly long tonight. This is like a mid-price action update. So there won't be a whole lot to talk about, but there are a couple important things to talk about here, and I do want to absolutely answer the question, why are you not buying the dip? Because I'm sure passerbys and those that have clicked on this video are wondering. Because most people, they see the price go low, they get bullish, and everybody loves to get excited about buying the dip, right? But it's a little controversial to not want to buy it, right? So surely there's a good reason for that. So we will be talking about that in this stream today. Now, I will say that I made this decision days ago, and I did let everybody know that. Actually, it was in the last live stream. I kind of gave everybody a warning. And though things after that started looking up, I stuck to my guns because I was pretty confident in what I believed and what my reasons were for not buying. And sure enough, the price action did not hold. And sure enough, I mean, you can take a look at the chart right here. We're looking at the same thing here. This is Dogecoin on the 3-minute chart. And you can pretty clearly see that we're back to 12 cents. Not very long ago, the price dipped all the way down here to 12.01. We were almost back in the 11-cent range. All right, so just keep that in mind. Price action right now is very, very bearish. It's a little bit concerning. And I'm going to explain to you guys why. And again, just keep in mind, this is my opinion. This does not mean that even though if I was right about these last couple days and my hunch was correct, does not mean that going forward, my hunch will still be correct. But at the end of the day, just like I always tell you guys, it's less about being right and more about doing your own analysis, if you understand what you're looking at least, and going with your gut feeling. Not just trading off of emotion, not making decisions off of emotion, excitement, or fear, good or bad, they're both bad, right? If you're too bullish or too bearish just because of things that you're seeing, letting your emotion control your decision making is usually the path to losing money. So I like to, with a clear head, and sometimes even with no position, just analyze things for what they are and make a decision based off what I can reasonably conclude. What's going on, Rafi? I see that you're first in the chat. Good to see you, and everybody else, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget, click the like button if you haven't already, and that really helps drive traffic to this relatively small channel that I've got going here. So I do appreciate your support. Rafi says, I've been DCAing into ETH and Bitcoin all year and not stopping. Good idea. Honestly, yes. If you hold a position, and let me, I guess, say this as a disclaimer. If you already hold a position, then it is probably a great idea, especially if you're holding from a much higher price. So if you're holding, let's just say, because Ethereum right now is going to be somewhere around 2K, right? Or maybe a little bit less. I haven't checked it today, but let's take a look. Okay. Wow, Ethereum did quite a big bounce there because not very long ago, oh no, I was thinking something else. Sorry. No, this is right. So I was thinking Ethereum went under 2,000, but it went under 3,000. So yes, this is correct. So right around here, I mean, if you were to look at this from a purely technical analysis standpoint, what you can see is an inverse head and shoulders. And so that should get you excited because at this very moment in time, you have shoulder 1, pull back to here's the neckline. Then you have the head, pull back to the neckline, and shoulder 2. And here we are coming off of shoulder 2, off that bounce, and you would hope that we see a recovery. So this would actually be a really good, relatively smart spot to buy a dip if you were to DCA. So right around now, Ethereum here, Bitcoin right around the same price level, because Bitcoin's at its low right near its support, right? The price that you would hope that it would hold at. Bitcoin's hanging around that area as well. And if we zoom out just a little bit, take a look at this price action from a more zoomed out point of view, you can kind of see that we're sitting right here and there's a lot of support nearby. Not exactly right here at this spot. We are kind of low and we fell below key levels, which I'll talk about in a minute, but there's some more support here at like 34. There's some more support here at 29. So you're somewhere near the potential bottom. If you don't expect it to go and make all time like new lows and go down into the 20s and 10s, you're near the bottom. So being that you can't usually perfectly time the absolute bottom, now it's probably a pretty decent time to start DCAing, which means slowly Hey, Alex, thank you so much. Appreciate that. The 7th month there of being a member. That's awesome, man. Glad to have you in our group. Hello, always DCA. Yes, if you hold a position and you see some great buying opportunities where things look like they're at a deep discount, great sale price, always DCA. Yes, buy those dips. From my perspective, though, I had already closed most of my position when this whole war situation started with a different game plan. So if you're going to hold, you're going to want to buy the dip. If you decide to cut your position, you're going to want to look for a re-entry point, which means that instead of just buying at random spots, you're going to be trying to time the market a little bit. Now, everybody says you can't time the market, don't time the market. That's true to an extent, but if you keep a close eye on the things that are controlling the market, you can usually get close enough to where you can pretty much time the market. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is now where I'm going to, I guess, get into my explanation of why I haven't bought quite yet, because that's where things get kind of important. So, first things first, especially to anybody that's relatively new to this whole trading thing, technical analysis alone is pretty much useless, and fundamental analysis alone isn't quite as useless, but it's also bad. All right, it's much worse to be a 100% technical analysis trader if you're going for a long-term trade in something and trying to time entries and exits than it is to be someone that trades off of fundamentals and news. Why do I say that? Because the market is not controlled only by patterns that form on the chart. Patterns that form on the chart are sometimes coincidences, but other times, I mean, just the price action in general moves based off of people's feelings about something. Feelings usually about the financial market. And people's feelings about the financial market are not usually based off of seeing a head and shoulders or double bottom or triple bottom or an inverse head and shoulders or bull flag or anything like that. Usually these patterns start to form as a result of good or bad news around the world, globally, or in your country, that makes people feel like, ooh, I should buy in because the markets are going to go up, or ooh, I should probably get out because the markets are going to go down and I don't want to take a loss because they expect people to panic for whatever reason. So that's the first things to note. That being said, the reason that I'm not buying this dip right now is because I am not convinced that the fear is gone. Okay, and so without even looking at the chart right now, if I were to completely cover this up and just be looking at something else, I don't care really what the price is. I'm looking at the news. I'm looking at the reason that the price in the market right now, the prices of the stock market and the prices in the crypto market are so low. And I'm sure all of you guys know and girls know exactly why markets are crashing right now, and that's because there are countries at war. And there is even though if you're not in Russia or in Ukraine, you may not be directly involved, particularly if you're not in Ukraine, right? But if you're in the United States, if you're in China, if you're in any of these other countries that are discussing things and figuring out what they should do, your country is to a degree associated with the war that's going on. Right? They're not directly involved, but there's a lot of these other countries like the United States that are trying to figure out ways to help without getting overly involved. And we're really walking this really thin line here between getting involved in the war and doing absolutely nothing and letting Ukraine just kind of go, right? And so tensions are high right now, whether we like to hear that or not. Tensions are high. People are trying to figure out what to do. And there is still a lot of panic in the market. And if there is complete and utter fear in the market, what's going to happen? People are going to sell because that's exactly what people do when they get fearful. Fearful equals selling. Excitement and hopeful equals buying because people expect the markets to move positively. And so for that reason, instead of taking a look at the charts and watching technicals all day, I've been reading the news constantly. So, and in case you're trying to figure out, well, how can I stay on top of the news? Twitter is one of your best friends because all you have to do is search like the word Russia, for example, kind of like how I did here. sort by top or latest, and you're just going to get a feed of all the latest information and articles that people are posting on Russia, right? And the things that are going on in Russia. So, and this is kind of what I've been doing. YouTube and Twitter, just trying to see, you know, what's the latest, taking a look at the news. What are people saying? What are the average consumers out there, which I don't consider myself. I'm usually pretty level-headed, and I'm kind of advanced in like technology, and then I've been doing this for a while too. So not the people like me, but what are the average person that doesn't know what they're doing, but are just, you know, they're buying into the stock market to make some money, or they're selling their position because out of fear, right? The everyday person. What are they feeling? That's why I check the news. As of this point, things are not looking much better. In fact, things are kind of getting worse. And let me catch up on comments a little bit before I keep rolling. So, what's up, Chosen One? Thanks for hanging out today. The Pimped Out Platypus, welcome back. We live, we bike. Nice. I didn't know that emoji existed. I'm just chilling, hodling, and letting my crypto marinate. Awesome. 7 says still bearish. I'm with you there. And I respect the hodl game there, Platypus. I like it. Rafi says got 1.5 ETH when it dipped to 2200. Awesome. Have been adding every week since. Great. Trying to have 3 by the end of the year. Now, I will say that's a really good goal, right? Because if, you know, the world doesn't completely disintegrate via 1,000 or 10,000 nukes, Ethereum should be up by the end of the year. So that's a really good investment you're making there. I like it. But Platypus says, I have bought as much as I could afford, so I'm staking as I hodl. Smart. That means that, you know, you're still holding, and then you know that you're not going to be selling or anything, so you locked it away so that it could also gain interest while it's sitting there. That's very smart. What's up, Kid Wilson? Do I think we'll see 10 cents again on Doge? Great question. Let me circle back to that. 7 says 2 cents. Hey, you've been saying it for like a year, man, and we're getting closer to 2 cents. So I'm starting to believe that you really have been onto something this whole time. Yeah, long time no see. Yeah, I'm trying to go live like once a week, maybe like max once every 2 weeks, while we're in this period of time where nothing's happening. It's really good to take a break, and for me, just like everybody else, what I would recommend is, if you don't have to look at the charts, don't. Because all that ends up making you do, and I've done this plenty of times, which is why I have to utilize self-discipline and kind of follow this instruction. And it's, if you don't have to look at the charts, don't. Right? And so when I don't go live for like a week or something like that, that means I have not been looking at the charts. So that is where I've been. And the reason for that is because the more you look at the charts, the more you start to get anxious. If you don't have a position and you see the prices going up, you're like, man, I want to buy in really bad. You start to get that itch, you get that FOMO. Or if you are in and you keep staring at the charts, you see the prices going down, you might have already told yourself you don't want to sell, but then your heart starts to sink, your stomach starts to drop, right? And then you're like, maybe I should get out. And it could just really lead you to making the wrong choice, just based off emotion. So if I know the markets aren't super volatile, but the movement might concern me a little bit, I just try not to open the app. Just set an alert. You know, if you have a price target in mind that you would want to make a decision at. So if Doge hits 9 cents, you want to buy, or if it hits 14 cents, you want to sell, or something like that. Just set an alert on your app. Webull does that pretty easily. So does Robinhood, I think. And close it and let your phone tell you when the charts have hit your price target. Other than that, you could just close your app and go live life, right? And John says, when did I do part 1 of the broadcast? There wasn't a direct part 1 to this, but this is kind of part 2 to my last stream, which I think was last week. So I don't think you missed it. All right, so why am I not buying this dip? Because I'm not convinced that the dip has finished dipping. There has been some mixed feedback in the markets. At first, everybody's like, oh my goodness, guys, the market's going to crash. Yikes. This year's going to be terrible. This was before the war even came. People were concerned about the inflation. and the inflation leading to a potential recession, and markets were already starting to sell off because of that. And I talked about this in the last stream. Then the war hit, and that just doubled down, everybody's panic. So then really everybody started to get out because that's terrible news. That's probably the worst possible time to feel financially secure, is when countries are at war, people are doing sanctions and messing up other countries' finances, and people's currencies are being devalued, all that. Bad time. Very bad time. So obviously the market crashes then. But then what started to happen recently was people, and one of the videos that I even shared with you guys, some of the people that I watch in my spare time, like Meet Kevin, Andre, Graham Stephan, and a lot of these other kind of financial, real estate, and stock market crypto gurus, started to look back into historical data to see what tends to happen during wars. And I found this to be very interesting. And usually, when a war has hit, any kind of conflict like that has hit, the initial sell-off in the market was the worst sell-off in the market. That is not to say that there were not more pullbacks, but historically, the initial sell-off was peak panic. And then after that, yes, there were pullbacks and whatnot, but they were not quite as severe, and they did not outdo the initial pullback. So that being said, if that is to play out and be true this time as well, then the pullback that we had here, where was it? Right here, to 34,000 on Bitcoin should be the lowest that we've gone. All right, or the lowest that we're going to go based off this whole war scenario. And the lowest that we hit here on Dogecoin at 10.6 should be the lowest that we're going to see. And so that started to make me feel a little bit more confident as well in potentially buying this dip up, because I knew when the time hit at 10 cents, I wasn't confident in buying. And these videos that I'm talking about, they weren't even out yet. But I just knew, okay, this is bad news. I don't know where it's going to stop. I'm not going to catch the falling knife. It's typically a bad idea. I'm going to wait for things to consolidate, the price action to calm down, and us to start seeing a little bit of a recovery before I consider a buy-in. And I told you guys that was around 13 cents. Well, we did find some support at 13, but the reason I didn't buy when I initially planned to was because the war information, the information regarding the war did not get better, it got worse. And that just told me that there was most likely going to be more buying opportunities and that I did not need to rush into a purchase. All right. And that's kind of the whole name of the game that I'm playing here, just so you guys know my perspective. And that's, don't rush into it. Wait until there are signs that we're going to see a recovery, at least, before you start to assume a position. And until then, just try to be as patient as possible. Because if there is not positive news regarding this war, there is most likely not going to be positive price movement unless something extremely bullish happens, like, let's just say Bitcoin back for Tesla or Dogecoin for Tesla fully or something like that. Those are the only things that are really going to move us up. And even at this terrible time, it might not even do that much. But those are the only times I might rush into a buy. If something extremely bullish was going to bump the market up a quick 10 to 20, 30% or something like that. If that's not happening, this market movement is most likely going to be directly tied and continue to be directly tied to the war information. So that's why I haven't been looking at the charts. I've been looking at the news. And so far, the news regarding the war is only getting worse day by day. At first, Russia said they were just going to take over those not very regulated or not well controlled 2 cities or something like that. They infiltrated those 2 cities, and then they continued and they went to the capital. Then they were storming the capital. Then there was rumors that they were trying to assassinate the president. And then after that, they overtook the second biggest city in Russia, in Ukraine. Every day there's new advances and the news is not improving. Once the news starts to say Putin's deciding to back down, or Ukraine and Russia are coming to an agreement, something positive, then I will look at the charts and say, all right, well, where are we sitting? Are we near any good technical levels to buy in? And even if not, I still might just place a buy there, because I'm trading this play off of the news, because when people hear positivity, that's when they're going to get hopeful, and that's when they're going to feel more comfortable jumping back into the market. And that is how I will time my entry. That's how I'll be timing the market. Now, I might not be at 10.6, and I might not even be at 12.09, but my price area, like I've told you guys, is right where this red line is. If I can get a buy off good news and be at my comfort zone, which is 13 cents, then that's going to be a perfect buy for me, because I'm in Dogecoin for the long haul. Now, obviously, I sell my position sometimes and then I rebuy it. That's not what I mean. I'm a supporter of the project, and I'm a believer in the project long term. And I do believe that Doge still will hit 30, 40, 50, who knows, $1 maybe one day, if the development and progress with making the coin better and more relevant and useful and adoption continues, whenever that may be. I like the project, and that's why I still talk about it. All right, so I believe in the project. So the difference between 10 cents and 13 cents long term doesn't really make a big difference to me. I would much rather buy in at 13 cents, have missed 3 cents of opportunity, and have bought on the way up. You know, I buy, we bounce here, I buy here, and the price keeps going. Then we bounce, I buy here because 13 was my price target, and then it goes like this, and then it dumps, and there was an opportunity at 6, but I had already bought in at 13, and now I'm scrambling to find more money with my next paycheck to average down some more and buy this dip, just so I can get a better average and get a piece of this move that I missed because I went all in at 13 impatiently just because the number sounded good. So that's my reasoning, right? On confirmation, buy on the way up. Now, if there's no confirmation, there's probably still a chance that we're going to see lower numbers. And so that's where my patience is coming in, just so I can play it by ear day by day. If you don't want to do that, though, you can obviously buy whenever you want. And then I just recommend closing your app, because we might see some lower numbers, and then come back later when things are better and you'll probably be in profit, you know? So there's that. And there is some more to it, but I will read some of your comments. Oh, you haven't seen me in a month? Oh yeah, I was live not long ago. Seriously though, after all this war stuff calms down and the market figures itself out, we will start getting back on track as far as I see it. For larger cap coins, price is usually built in to a certain extent, right? Thoughts? And then also, you feel that this was the biggest ad or commercial for the power of crypto to the entire world? Yep. And you feel like it'll bring major buyers to the crypto space, not to make light of the situation in Ukraine? Absolutely. And I agree with you there, Rafi, 100%. And that's why I'm pretty confident. And for me, not being in right now, that makes me even more confident with, as soon as I start to see signs of recovery, placing a buy order because of those things that you just said. I believe after the war, we're probably going to go on a bull run, because people are probably looking at this as, well, this is the worst it can get, right? Bitcoin was already going down because of bad financial news. Bitcoin then pretty much tanked off of countries going to war. What worse thing can happen to cryptocurrency to make the price drop more than that? There's probably not too many more things we can think of, right? So surely this has to be the bottom. And so that's probably how the average retail consumer is going to be thinking about the price action. And so I think once the war is over, as long as we make it out of it clean and alive, of course, that Bitcoin will see immediate buy-ins, whale buy-ins, corporate buy-ins, retail trader buy-ins, and that we might start heading right back to all-time highs immediately after, pretty quickly after. And then on top of that, like you just said, yes, also kind of have the biggest crypto commercials that we could possibly have right now by people being forced to see the potential good of cryptocurrency. A lot of people, when they hear crypto, the first thing they think of is, oh, isn't cryptocurrency like for criminal transactions and activity? That's usually the default opinion of crypto with people that don't know what crypto is. They just think it's some like underground currency that's used to move money without being traced, primarily for illegal activity. Now, though it is sort of like an underground financial system, all the rest of that is incorrect. It is very easy to be traced because all of your transactions are permanently stored on a public blockchain that everybody can see. And then, if you got the right information, you can always trace that back to someone, just like the government's been doing recently. And it is primarily not used for criminal activity. And now people are starting to see, here is the real benefit of cryptocurrency. When people come after our own currency of our country, and when our currency's value starts to go down and all this stuff, decentralized money that is not tied to my country, but that is like a global currency that has its own financial system, that is deflationary, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is easily accessible as long as I have an internet connection, and it's far more secure and stable. Like, people are starting to see the plus side. And, what's happening now is because of the financial situation over in Ukraine, the president of Ukraine, the prime minister, was directly advocating for Ukraine to be able to accept donations via Bitcoin and via Dogecoin, which is insanely bullish for both things, and the entire world got to see that. How crazy is that? All right, and just in case you missed that, I'll go ahead and find those tweets for you, because that's pretty big news. All right. And this is, I know I'm going to butcher this, Mikhailo Fedorov. Close enough. I think it could have been worse. All right. And he said, Dogecoin exceeded the Russian ruble in value. We will start to accept Doge donations in this meme coin. Now even memes can support our army and save lives from Russian invaders. Doge owners of the world, and then he tagged Elon and the Dogecoin creator, let's do it, and put a wallet address for donations to those in the Ukraine. How crazy is that? This is insane marketing for crypto. This is insane marketing for Dogecoin. I think, and if Elon Musk, because we know that he's kind of the unofficial leader of this project, if he was ever starting to feel kind of on the fence regarding this, especially after the kind of shutdown that we got from McDonald's, and maybe that killed a little bit of his momentum, seeing this, I'm sure, rejuvenated some of his excitement and feeling about the coin, because this is big. This is absolutely massive. And shortly before that, they had mentioned that they were accepting Bitcoin for those donations as well. And so those were the only two that were name dropped, Bitcoin and Dogecoin. And it makes sense. Those are really the only two coins right now that aren't having issues like XRP that are also specifically made for moving money around. Currency, Dogecoin and Bitcoin. That's what they are. So this is incredibly bullish news for crypto, but like I said, it's always a balance of how much good do we have? Like, if you were to put it on a scale, a two-sided scale, you weigh the good versus the bad. So we've got some bullish news for crypto, but we've also got a full-blown war going on. Obviously, that's going to outweigh all the good right now, and so the price action is going to be trending to the downside, regardless of the cool publicity. But once that war ends, then you take all that bad news off the scale, and only the good news that we just had is left to get factored in. And then what's going to happen? Then the crypto is going to take off. And that's the moment I'm waiting for. When things clear up, that's when I'll place a buy. Now, here's another thing I'm going to say. And it's that we could see, though a lot of people were citing the fact that usually the first crash when the war starts is the worst, we could see something different. We've broken a lot of historical activities over this last couple years. I mean, we broke the stock to flow model, which hadn't been broken in how long, and so on and so forth. So it is possible that we do actually see a continuation down further than the initial drop down here on Doge and on Bitcoin. Now, and this is why I'm still watching the news and not buying yet, because we don't know what's going to happen here. What would make the price drop that low? And this is worth discussing. I think, because here's what's happened recently. All of these other countries, like the United States and, so on and so forth, are trying to figure out a way to get involved and help discourage Putin from continuing to wreak this havoc on Ukraine without really getting involved. Because the last thing everybody wants is for him, he's already threatened nuclear retaliation, right? He's already threatened to basically blow up the country of anybody that gets in the way of what he's trying to do. So everyone's walking on thin ice right now, trying not to start a nuclear war, trying not to start World War III, because that'd be terrible. So, the U.S. and these other countries are trying to figure out a way to intervene without, or to assist without intervening and completely pissing off Putin. And so what's going on right now is we've been implementing these sanctions, right? These financial sanctions where we're really stressing and putting strain on the finances of Russia and making things very inconvenient for them. And it's kind of crushing their economy. I'm sure you guys know by now that their stock market has been closed for like the entire week, and I don't think it opened at all this week. And you cannot buy or sell on their stock market. And the value of Russia's currency, the ruble, has dropped significantly. So they're experiencing a market crash over in Russia, a full-on financial crash. And Putin's pretty mad about it. He has been sending continuous kind of warning threats saying, hey, stop what you're doing, stop getting involved, stop making this difficult, and just very in short messages just kind of been threatening, like, if you cross a line, you're going to get a nuke, right? And we know what happens if that happens. There's going to be one missile crosses into the US, there's probably going to be one sent back, and we're going to have a problem. Now, as much as I don't want to see that, I do still think that there could be some more fear that comes from this situation, because it seems like day by day, he's getting more and more angry, and we keep continuing to figure out ways without sending our troops in there to kind of get involved. So there could be some war declaration that he, something that he says, something that he implies, something that makes the situation even more tense and people more fearful. Now, I don't want to say that there could be an actual war, because I don't even want to consider that as being a potential scenario. But I think there could be some more verbal threats that will make people panic some more. And so I don't necessarily think that where we're sitting right now in the markets is the absolute bottom. And if there is a war declaration between more countries, worst case scenario, obviously I'm also going to rule out the fact that the previous bottom that we hit is the bottom, because now news just got way worse, and everybody's probably going to expect everyone to just get out and not even think about finances right now, right? And not think about trying to trade stocks and crypto. So if that happens, I think we can start seeing teens on Dogecoin, or single digits on Dogecoin, under 10 cents on Dogecoin. And I think we could see 20s or less on Bitcoin and whatever, because in my opinion, if COVID was different because there was job loss directly, right? But COVID, we saw Bitcoin in the single thousand, it was like $3,000-$4,000 at its lowest point. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but I think we could be like in the tens. And that would obviously put Dogecoin pretty low, somewhere around, in the single digits. So basically, long story short, I'm not ruling out the fact that it could happen. And I would just feel much more comfortable knowing the unpredictability of the situation, playing it day by day, looking at the news, and just seeing if things get worse or if things start to get better. And then around the moments where I start to hear that, Putin's accomplished what he's trying to accomplish and he's pretty much done, I expect the markets from there forward to start trending upwards overall, and that's right around where I'll place my buy. And I'm just hoping that time is somewhere in this area, all right, 12 to 14. Because that's my buy zone. My target's 13. That would be perfect if it lined up that way. And we'll just have to see. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. And yeah, exactly, Rafi. I am in full agreement with your thought process there. Good to be back. Haven't caught a stream in a while. Glad to see you, Turtle. You donated 420 to Ukraine. Nice. I noticed a lot of people donated 420. It's pretty funny, but also, it's great to see that many people care. And the thing about cryptocurrency, guys, it gets people excited about sending money. Because if this whole thing was just like, hey, use cash to donate to Ukraine, sure, there would still have been plenty of money sent over to Ukraine. There's plenty of good-hearted people out there. But for the people that don't usually get involved in that kind of thing, the extra incentive is they get to use the coin and the currency that they're excited about and share that with someone else as a gift, right? They get to send what they like to someone else as a gift. And so that incentivizes people that normally wouldn't get involved to get involved. And so then who benefits from that? The receivers. And the senders get to feel better about, themselves too, because they were able to help out somebody in need. So, and I think this is an example. There's probably plenty of people that donated Dogecoin that typically wouldn't consider themselves like very politically involved, or even the kind of person that would normally send money across, the world for something like that. Toby Entertainment says, I can't believe, and that's going to be just even more great advertisement for Bitcoin and for Dogecoin, and long term that will prop the markets up. Not that that's at all what this was about, but we are talking about financial markets here. Toby says, I can't believe some people got mad because he said they would accept Dogecoin. Some people went as far as to say he wouldn't rest in peace because they accepted Doge. Toxic people. That first of all, that's absolutely insane that people would even say that. But it's pretty funny because that shows you how many Dogecoin haters are out there now. And this is another reason why I'm still bullish on Dogecoin, by the way. There's so many people that, one, missed all the Dogecoin movement and then played it wrong. Let's just say they bought in during the whole SNL hype thing where it was 50, 60 cents, and maybe it went up to 70. They were still buying, and they held, and then they sold somewhere down here, 30, 20, 10, and they got burned on Doge, and they think it's the worst thing in the world, and now they're an anti-Doge advocate. Like, they preach against Dogecoin now and will support SHIB and all these other anti or new projects that are supposed to be better. They're either that kind of person, or they are just somebody that's in a different type of coin that's in competition with Dogecoin, and they love to say that Dogecoin's the worst thing that ever existed, right? And so I feel like it's one of those two types of people that are really spreading that kind of hate and that toxicity. But the thing is, but that's what makes it funny, because then you see Dogecoin do really, really well, and these people you see Dogecoin get taken seriously, and these are now the people that have switched to be anti-Dogecoin because they had such a bad experience with it, or because they just decided, I hate Dogecoin, and they're like, oh, you person, how could you ever accept this terrible coin? It's useless. It has no value. It's an Elon coin. It takes a whole person. It takes the richest person in the world to make this coin move. Oh, Dogecoin's dead. And then they see Dogecoin not being dead. And they see Dogecoin being taken seriously and being used for donations across the world when they've already decided they'll never touch it again. And it just kind of makes them vomit and angry to the point where they'd say something that terrible over someone's choice of currency, right? That's nuts. But my point was, at the same time, people, because of those feelings, there's been so much hype that has left Dogecoin because retail investors have gotten burned so much, and they've seen the price kind of sitting stable, which is good, but they've seen it sitting stable and not going crazy all over the place for so long that they've decided, they want no part of the coin anymore. We've lost all of those hype buyers over there that are looking at Doge like, oh, there will never be another pump, so why would I buy into it? But eventually those people, they usually, they'll come back around. Once Dogecoin does make some movement and we see, a Doge for Tesla announcement, Robinhood wallets, all that stuff, markets start to recover and Doge starts naturally moving towards 15, back up towards 20, and we see a Doge 25 and all these people that thought it couldn't happen start seeing it happen again, I feel like we'll start to get a lot of that attention back. All those haters will probably be buyers, just like they were before. And that's typically the way it goes. John says, we've been going down since Powell said Russia's invasion of Ukraine could emphasize the need for cryptocurrency regulation to prevent sanctioned individuals from using crypto to evade sanctions. Yeah. That too. I did notice that too. I'm sure people didn't like that very much, but it is what it is. I think long term, nobody likes regulations, especially the people that use cryptocurrency for bad things, right? So there's a lot of people, like, overall crypto's not to be used for that, but there are people that are smart, I guess you could say, that have been for a while using cryptocurrency to evade taxes and to do criminal activity and all that stuff. And so overall, the government saying, hey, we're going to get our hands on this tool that you guys have been using freely and start to regulate it, it's not necessarily a positive thing for everybody. But I think we are going to see a drop off because of that, and then a gradual recovery and continuation, because at the same time, it's good news. It means less opportunities for rug pulls, which nobody likes, because there are a lot of scam coins out there. So less rug pulling, more security, more stability, and we know that the governments aren't going to completely shut us down like there was fear of before, especially with the infrastructure bill and all that. We know that we're just getting regulated and moderated to be a safe space and a predictable space, and then we'll just be allowed to continue business as normal. So I'm not surprised to see a sell-off, but I think it is short-lived. But anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. About 45 minutes, not too bad. Unfortunately, we missed the Artful Doger in the stream yet again. I tried to go live a little sooner today, but missed him probably by a couple minutes. If you're watching this playback, hopefully we'll catch you in the next stream, sir. But hopefully we answered a lot of the questions that even those watching the playback of the stream later on had. But that's pretty much my angle, guys. I don't know. This could be the bottom. We don't know. If you hold a position, dollar cost averaging and buying these dips at key support levels is going to be your best friend. You don't necessarily have to sit out. If your average is 15 cents, if it's 20, 25, 30, there's no need to completely sit out and hope you can get like an 8-cent dip and completely skip out on 13, on 10, on 9, right? Just to greed for that extra 1 cent or 2 cents. If your goal is to long-term hold and you think these are great prices in an area of value and that we're going to rebound, make this one of your buying spots, one of your mini, which means don't just all in all the rest of your money, but dollar cost average in. This is one buying zone. Then wait for the next one, wait for the next one, or buy on the way back up after if we start to recover. That's the way to play this. But me personally, I'm sitting completely out right now. And so I'm looking for signs of, since there's no reason for me to just assume a position when we don't have good news yet, I'm going to wait for some positivity to kick back in, whether that's the price action for whatever reason. If there's external good news that makes the price of the market start to go up, whether that happens, or more importantly, better news regarding the war kicks in, that's going to be my buying signal. But until then, I am just carefully watching the market, watching the news, and just keeping an eye on the charts every once in a while to make sure nothing's going crazy here. That's pretty much it. That is why I'm not buying the dip yet. I do think it is possible that we'll see 10 cents again. I'm not counting on it. I'm honestly not. But the concept of the double bottom, and this was the last thing I wanted to talk about, I almost forgot. And that's the concept of the double bottom. Now, let me zoom out a little bit here. Actually, I should go to Bitcoin. If you look right here, this kind of formed a double bottom here. And to a lot of people, this probably was a pretty strong buying signal, but we kind of failed the next part of the move here. So this probably isn't going to hold up very well unless news kind of kicks in and props this up. But the whole concept of the double bottom is really important when you think about how these get formed. So you get the initial sell-off, just like we just had on Dogecoin. you get the initial sell-off to a really low point. When that first happens, there's a lot of people that aren't quite sure, is this the bottom or not? Are we going to keep going or are we going to stop? And for that reason, a lot of people do not buy in on that first initial dip. So what do? A lot of times they wait for some kind of confirmation that was actually the bottom. And so that could be us hitting once, coming up, and then on the way back down, they're like, all right, well, maybe I'll look for a buying opportunity now. Well, what's going to be a great buying opportunity? Well, we hit here once and we stopped. So if we hit here again and stop, that means we found support at 10.6. And so maybe I'll buy that time. And so that's where you get the double bottom reversal pattern. Unsure, but some people bought. And then way more people feeling comfortable in the second time around because now they have a point to reference instead of the first time they hit having nothing. They have a point to reference of a stopping point, and if it stops, people will buy that spot, and then you usually get everybody on board at that point, and it takes off. If not, sometimes what you get is the triple bottom, which is just one more bounce as people aren't quite sure, and then the move, and then the buy-in part. So I would not be surprised if we get a little bit more bad news regarding the war, no good news regarding crypto to counter that. We end up falling back somewhere in this 11 to 10 cent range, and then we kind of do a double bottom out of here as news starts to get better, or even a triple. But that's kind of where I'm sitting. If we come back down here and stop again and then start to move up, I might consider a buy there off the double bottom. But overall, I told you guys my game plan. Checking the news, waiting for signs that there will be a reversal based off of positive news from Russia and not news like this. Russia continues to make advances deeper into Ukraine. To me, that's not sounding very bullish. So, yeah, that's not a reason for me to buy. Double bottom breakout to 120. That would be amazing. Would love that, and I'm sure you guys would too. Just to wrap up here, looks like the poll, we got about 21 votes. Are you buying now was the question. 62% said no, 38% yes. So looks like most people are going to hold out as well. I respect it. Wow. Looks like the president survived 3 assassination attempts already. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's just going to suddenly get better. They said they were doing some light, invasion, and now they're trying to kill the president and take over all of Ukraine. And they've been saying that, Putin's been saying that Russia and Ukraine are the same people. I think they're really trying to conquer the whole country. And so I don't think, just over the next couple of days, if I'm being honest, that we're going to see a significant change here. I think we might still see some lows that we might not love, but that's the dip that I would be looking to buy. Not quite yet. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. That's going to do it for this stream, and I'll see you guys when I've got some more information. Have a great evening.